Guys, language is very important. Language is a way for us to communicate with one another. Mainstream propagandists decided to hijack language and replace it with something else. It's Newspeak from 1984, and this article shows it very, very well. My Gamergate silence helped elected Trump, and some other truths. Okay, guys, I'm gonna ask you to keep Trump in mind throughout this entire video. Stick it in your mind, and don't ever forget it. Not that you can actually forget him. I was working in games journalism when Gamergate became a thing, but I didn't really write much about it. In fact, I purposely kept pretty quiet about the whole thing. Because if you actually speak out about Gamergate, you get called a misogynist, even though you're only concerned with journalistic ethics of not only video games journalists or developers, but also journalism in general. In essence, I danced around the issue for a number of reasons. First of all, Gamergate was never really that clear to me. Like any leaderless movement, it seemed to mean something different to each and every person involved. Yes, everybody has their own way of thinking what Gamergate really is. Some people are more lenient on slapping that label to define themselves as a Gamergater. I'm not that kind of person. I just like the ideas they offer on the table and are willing to uphold those ideas. One member of Gamergate might say that it really was about ethics in video game journalism, a feeling that collusion between content creators and the game makers was unethical and lead to deception to the gaming public. Yeah, that's a pretty accurate description of what Gamergate really is. Others seem to jump on the Gamergate bandwagon as a reason to harass women, minorities, and the LGBTQ community for perceived destruction of gaming. That's not what Gamergate is all about. I know I state this like a million times, but I always try to make sure that every video that I make is in some ways accessible to new audiences. Only 0.65% of Gamergaters are actual harassers, FBI investigation leads to nowhere, and people who are tasked on finding harassment towards Anita Sarkeesian by Gamergate cannot find any harassment towards Anita Sarkeesian by Gamergate. So, not as evil as you say they are. And this is where the newspeak begin. Every single time they say women, or people of color, or minorities, or LGBTQ community, replace it with the word me. Gamergate has not harassed any of these people and any of these members. In fact, there are people in any of these categories inside Gamergate, or at least supportive of Gamergate. I am one of those people, but game journalists love to hide on this shield. Gamergate has, however, harassed game journalists that are being unethical and are absolute total hacks. And by harassed, well, harassed is also another source of newspeak. Harassed in this context means giving legitimate criticisms and grievances. So if we replace the newspeak with the last sentence into something more sensible. Others seem to jump on the Gamergate bandwagon as a reason to criticize us for perceived destruction of gaming. It makes a lot more sense, and it is hilarious that they put it alongside the fact that they acknowledge that Gamergate is a movement for ethical journalism, and they just handwave it because Gamergate's actual target is them, unethical journalists. That's why they say that they're being harassed, even though they're only given legitimate criticisms. Sometimes we really need a little bit of a newspeak translator. I feel that it was impossible to respond as a general rule, not just because of the amorphous quality of the movement itself, but also because I was a member of that evil grouping as a woman. I wanted to continue to be seen as one of the good women, not to speak out against a movement that appeared mostly awful, but also sort of based on some good ideals. The only reason why you think Gamergate is awful is because they exposed the fact that you're corrupt and you didn't like it. So I guess it's understandable on why you're angry. It's just that being angry shouldn't be the reaction that you should do. It should be a look in the mirror or do some sort of introspection. Just goes to show you how immature game journalists are on how they take criticisms. However, as I read an article this month in games industry, I felt my heart sink. Oh, that article by our resident conspiracy theorist Rob Fahey. I did a video on this entire debacle, so you decided to believe in a conspiracy theorist article. Okay, fine, let's just cut to the chase. What point do you want to make by referencing this article? I love gaming. I have, ever since I was old enough to hold a controller. I have considered myself a gamer, and in fact, I am happily spending our time off of playing Watch Dogs 2, Stardew Valley, and cleaning up some final achievements in Final Fantasy 15. Gotta ref up that gaming cred, do you? Not sure we have to add the entire thing in, but whatever. Instead of one group's gain at the loss of another's, I have always felt that there was room in gaming for everyone. Just because women, people of color, or LGBTQ communities might achieve better representation in gaming, didn't mean that the old traditional games wouldn't be made. There will always be room for hack and slash, shoot 'em up, or high fantasy games. It's just that gaming has also been moving towards including more nuanced female leads, more three-dimensional people of color. Like I said, just replace the words they're using here into the word me. When you look at the sentence in this context, it doesn't make sense. Women and people of color have been in gaming for years now, so who is the person not included in the gaming community or in the gaming realms? The game journalist, of course. That's right, the game journalist has not been noticed by gaming industry senpai, and that really pisses them off. Do you know why Tumblrites are never pleased? Because they are the most egotistical person living on this entire planet. They never have at least 1 inch of a concern to the lives and respect of other human beings. They only care about themselves and them only. They are never pleased because in order to please them, you need to cater into everything they want 100%. As in, you only need to please one person. I don't know about you, but that's not exactly a brilliant marketing strategy. Unfortunately, I might be rejoicing in our community too late. Not our community, because if you're reading this, you'll probably read on other words that appears on the site and know just how much we love and celebrate our community members. But to gamers at large, the gamer community as a whole, Gamergate made everyone fear that gaming was under threat, that we were all at risk of losing that we to hold so dear. And so many gamers were radicalized, were made to believe that they had to act or lose it all. They had to take a stand before gaming was forever lost. And that stand was against not all women, people of color, etc. This is an even more interesting case of Newspeak. Let me translate this for you. But to gamers at large, the gamer community as a whole, Gamergate made game journalists fear that our outlet was under threat, that we're all at risk of losing that which we hold so dear. If you change it on that context and read the next section, and so many gamers were radicalized, were made to believe that they had to act or lose it all, it makes sense. Gamers are radicalized to think that game journalists are becoming more and more corrupt because they're elitists who thinks that their opinion is the most important thing of all. And again, radicalized is a harsh language to describe it so that it can sound scary and evil. They had to take a stand before gaming was forever lost, and that stand was against not all women, people of color, etc. Oh, I love this sentence, including hashtag not all in there too. So again, replace women and people of color with game journalists. And you might see that this entire article is nothing but a cry. It's a cry of pain. It's nothing but crying and begging for mercy to all the gamers who stood up to these unethical journalists to stop threatening their space. Please stop exposing us. Please stop telling us that we're corrupt. This article is a beg for euthanasia, as in mercy killing. It's actually kind of creepy if you think about it. As a general rule, I think the Gamergate thing has calmed down. People have realized that gaming isn't going anywhere, that they will still be able to play games that they love and ignore the stuff that they don't like, and those who are aiming for more representation are slowly seeing more games they can identify with, even if those titles are as mediocre as any other title in that genre. It's almost like skin color doesn't say how good games really are. Unfortunately, Gamergate went on to be a proof of concept. It wasn't about truth or proof of legitimacy. It was about the power to get people to take action against perceived threats. Gamergate proved that if people are told their precious community is at risk, even if that risk isn't real, they will do whatever is necessary to protect that grouping they love. This isn't really a case of Newspeak and more of a case of projection. Now, let's replace the word Gamergate with the word game journalist. Unfortunately, game journalists went on to be a proof of concept. It wasn't about truth or proof of legitimacy, it was about the power to get people to take action against perceived threats. Game journalists proved that if people are told their precious community is at risk, even if that risk isn't real, they will do whatever is necessary to protect that grouping they love. And yes, I can prove to you that game journalists are going to do whatever it takes and whatever is necessary to protect that grouping they love. For example, Tracer. Tracer being gay and everybody is like, I made 2 videos discussing this. Game journalists, however, seems to be under the delusion that gamers are angry on this fact when they are actually not. They're actually just okay. In fact, I can probably argue that they're gonna be excited. I mean, goddamn, just seriously. How can anyone in their right mind say no to this? Seriously, these 2 chicks are gonna come over and make out right in front of your faces, and do you seriously think that we're gonna say no to that? How detached are you people out of this world? Really? It proved to politicians around the world something that they already knew. People are so desperate to be a part of something that if someone tells them that their very way of life is at risk, they will vote for someone who promises to restore their pride, restore their rightful place. Another case of projection. Tell me, who's the one shouting, "Game industry senpai, please notice me"? I don't have any illusions that I would have to make a difference during Gamergate. So many voices were swirling at the time. I doubt that mine would have changed the tide or make people pause to think about their actions or assess where things were going. That's because your voice is misleading and incorrect. And people don't like that sort of thing, so they get away from you. That said, I do wonder if I and other people with a voice had done more and sooner, if it would have changed perception and helped people retain some of their critical minds. So, that's the end of the article. Did you notice something odd throughout this article? Not once on this entire article has ever referenced Trump. Not once. Not even the conspiracy theory article being referenced. Like, okay, so on the top of being incorrect, you're also incompetent on articulating your points. I don't expect to agree with you guys, but I expect some quality writing at least. You can be wrong on something but still express your points marvelously to the point of convincing people. The only mention of Trump is in the title. I don't know why Trump is even mentioned. It's just slap that Trump label in there. Again, I can only see this article as a beg for mercy. This article speaks so loud, begging us to just please end this suffering. In some ways, I actually kind of feel sorry. I mean, the level of brutality that we have done to these journalists has probably broken some core parts of their brains. Now, to be honest, if I'm being put in the position of the executor, I really don't know what to do or what's more satisfying. Should we just kill them and end their suffering, or let them suffer to their painful last moments of their life? What do you think, guys? I really want to know. That's all for the video today. If you like this, you can go ahead and click the like button and subscribe for more. If you wish, you can support me at Patreon. And thanks for watching.